Follow up. Part two. Part two.
Of what?
Here?
Part two.
Yeah.
Everyone, please take a seat. Time is of the essence. They say in yeshiva, time is Torah. It's my line. You can use it if you want. Okay. Everyone, take a seat. Thank you, Jonathan. And Refuah Shaleva, soccer injury. Jonathan Ada. I leave the guy for 4 days in a shear. Come back. Is it broken, Jonathan? All right, guys. For the first time in Destinaishions history,
Wow.
Rabbi Sate is back for part 2. One seat per person. Everyone, please take a seat. This is going to be an interactive Kiruv class. The first time in Destinations history. We all know how great Rav Sate was last time, and we're very confident the class is going to be incredible. Kiruv part 2, interactive. Rabbi Rafal Sate, all the way from Ramat Beit Shemesh, noted speaker, Kiruv legend, Rabbi Sate.
I love how he just ups the game every time. Okay, here's a pop quiz. First of all, I want to thank everybody everyone got that email, WhatsApp, right? To come dressed as someone you want to be Makarov. So I'm looking around, feeling it. So I just want to thank everybody for participating. Like the white kippah. Okay. So, yeah. Anyone remember pop quiz? Anyone remember how I started off the class? The first words I said? Yes. Yeah. There we go. Let's go. Up. Up. On the chair. No, not on the chair. On the chair. Go. What's your name? C. Kaplan from where? Okay. Where are you, yeshiva? Okay. Go. Okay, that's it. That's how I started my class last time. Das. Okay. Tonight I'm starting like this. V'satzilenu mikinas ish mere'ehu v'lo ya'aleh kinas adam al libenu v'lo kinasenu al acherim. Does anyone know where that's from? Cheater, stand up. Go. The Naim Ali Melech, Tefillah, Kodem, Tefillah. No. Okay, next word. Adirabe, Teinem Bili Beyanu. Okay? So, let's see it again, and let's understand what the Rebbe of Melech, the Naim Ali Melech, is telling us. His yard site's coming up. Let's understand what he's saying and why specifically he uses the word Adrabah. Just quickly, what does the word Adrabah mean? What?
Just the opposite. Antithesis.
Yeah, you got it. Okay. Okay, so let's do it again. This is from Tefillah Kodem to Tefillah. So the Rebbe Elimelech is expecting, hoping, asking, encouraging us to start off our day like this. V'satzilenu mikinas ish mere'ehu. And save us as in, if you don't save us, it's something that comes naturally to us. So the first thing, psychologically, that Rebbe Elimelech is telling us is this is Aleph base. You're gonna fall into this. Unless you daven for this is who you are. That is human nature. V'satzilenu, save us. Saving means we're on a course to it's going to happen anyways, unless we're saved. V'satzilenu mikanas ish mere'ehu. Save us from jealousy, one person to another. V'lo ya'aleh kinas adam alibenu, and let us not be jealous of. Don't let someone be jealous of us. V'lo kinasenu al acherim, and let us not be jealous of someone else. Adarabah. Not only am I asking for a baseline, Rabbi Elimelech is saying, don't only ask for a baseline of, I'm not jealous of him, he's not jealous of me, and we're all good. Adarabah. Go much further than that, Rabbi Shalom. And please, Tein b'libenu shenir'eh kol echad. Give us in our hearts that we should see malas chaveirenu. Not simply, right? Not simply baseline, no jealousy, but let us start off the day, every day, being able and having in our hearts to see the ma'alot, the milas, the greatness of our friends. Velo chesronam, and not their deficiencies. V'shenidaber kol echad es chaveiro baderech hayashav haratzi lufanecha, and let us talk to our friends, about our friends, in a derech hayashar, v'al yalesh shum sina me'echad al chaveiro chalila. And of course, save us from hate one person on another. First lesson of tonight, always source Avram Fried songs. Okay? You got that? Everyone wrote that down? Okay. Number 2. What are we asking for? Why are we asking this? Why does Rabbi Elimelech of Lezhensk feel this is so important to us starting off our day? And why am I starting off the class with this? We ended the last class, part 1, with some Kiruv tools. Anyone remember them? Anyone remember them? Go. Yeah. You nodded. Was it a fake nod? What is it like? I'm paying attention. I'm not you. Go.
Share, don't preach.
Okay. Preach, don't share. Share, don't preach. There were 4. Go.
Don't carry the pen.
Don't.
Carry the pen to do emergency surgeries.
That's right. Don't do emergency tracheotomy in the street just because you were here. Go.
Don't lower your own standard just to be relatable.
I actually did not talk about that, but we're going to. Go.
Don't make someone your project.
Don't make a project.
Don't judge.
Don't judge. And never miss an opportunity, which all of these things was. And the last one was don't be embarrassed from where you came from. Okay? Don't judge. You know what that means, don't judge? Adarabah. Watch this. I was 18 years old, and I was here in Yerushalayim for the summer, and I spent some time with my 7th grade Rebbe. His name was Tzvi Mashinsky. Reb Hershel Mashinsky was a very tall man with a beard down to here that you would get lost in when he hugged you. He always hugged you. He had the biggest hands that I've ever met. And I hadn't seen him in years, but he was someone that I wanted to stay close to. He used to come every summer. He would take off after teaching 7th grade kids in Muncie. And I spent some time with him. We learned together, or he taught me. And I was just on that, what do I do with my life? What's my next thing? And he told me over that when he was my age, he spent some time with the Klausenberger Rebbe, his Rebbe. Subsequently, I found out that he was a lot closer with the Klausenberger Rebbe than he let on, but we're going to leave that for a different time. He says to me, I'm walking with the Klausenberger Rebbe one day, and I was at a crossroads of what I'm going to do in life. But I hadn't shared this with the Rebbe. And he says, for no good reason, the Rebbe says to me, So how do you know what you're going to do in life? How does a person know what they should do? There's lots to do. It could be a plumber. It could be a doctor. How do you know what you should be doing in life? And the Rebbe says, and listen to this, the Rebbe says, I don't know the answer. But I can tell you one thing. If when you're walking in the street and you see a Jewish child and you want to hug and kiss them because the Ahavas Yisrael that you have for them is bursting at the seams, then you know you have to go into chinuch. Now listen to how powerful this thing that the Rebbe said for no reason to Rabbi Mishinsky. If you have to control yourself from hugging and kissing children in the street, and please, don't do this at home, by the way. Okay, we're not. You will get arrested. I'm just saying. But if you have to control yourself because your Ahavas Yisrael is bursting, then you have to go into chinuch. Now, if you're in this room, if you're thinking of Kiruv Krovim, or Kiruv Rechokim, or Kiruv anybody, your friends, your roommate, your chavrusa, then your baseline, my friends, is Adarabah. Tein b'libeinu shenire kol echad malas chavereinu v'lo chesronam. Watch how the tools that we spoke about last time are inherent in these words. If you're focusing on someone's chesronos, what are you going to do? You're going to make that person your project. I got to help him. Look at all these things that he's not doing right. If you're not able to focus and see a person's milos, what's good in him, you're going to be focusing on his deficiencies. And you will have no way, no in, to develop him as a person. Now, I'm going to say something that I'd rather if you didn't repeat. I taught in many schools and seminaries over the past 18 years since we moved to Eretz Yisrael. And I had an discussion, with some of the Rebbeim that I worked with about using a person's, how should I say this, name that they came off the plane with. No? That didn't make any sense? Okay, what's your name?
Jonathan.
Okay. Jonathan, do you have people that call you Yonason?
Slave name.
Is your name Yonason? Is your name even Yonason? It is. Okay. Here we go. Do you like that?
It doesn't bother me.
Does it give you a warm, fuzzy feeling? Okay, are there any Erics in the room? Oh, there we go. Okay, I did not prepare this, right? Did not ask him. Eric, what's the name that you're called up to the Torah with?
Abraham.
Abraham?
Ben Zalman.
Okay. Do you have people that call you Abraham?
Like there's like one guy.
One more time. What?
There's like one guy that I know that does.
Okay. Does it work for you? And you're going home as Abraham?
Not that I know.
If you did go home as Abraham, would that make your parents feel better about sending you here, or
They would be fine with it.
they would be fine with it? Okay, I'm going to go with Avi, by the way.
I used to go with that, by that name when I was younger.
What?
I used to go by Avi when I was younger.
Oh, look at that. I didn't prepare that either. Oh, that's good. see how this works? I can go through things and know things about you just looking at you. This is why I get paid the big bucks. Ain't feeling tired. Okay. You're going to walk out of here. Don't worry. I'm feeling it. Okay. In all seriousness, the point was, Shenire kol echad malas chaveirenu v'lo chesrona. When people move on in life, they are want to feel that they have to give up who they were in order to progress. You understand what that means? I'm going to give you an extreme example. Let's say you are or were a professional surfer and you were not religious. Could you see how a person would feel, I have to give up that skill, talent, practice that I have or that I did in order for me to progress? This is when you guys say something.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, you pick one. Tell me something that you think that a person would have to give up in order to move on.
Judaism or what?
Yeah, in Judaism.
That's professional sport.
Professional sport. What? You are a professional sports player, you cannot take that with you. Okay? What?
100% certainty in your own opinions.
What?
100% certainty in your own opinions.
I'm talking about a specific skill or talent. That would be
Oh, wow.
big stretch if someone was that talented. So,
Career or degree.
a career or a degree. Okay?
Pleasure and entertainment.
Okay?
You know, for it down to the things that anything that brings you takes you further away from Hashem is when you'd have to give up, but if it didn't, you wouldn't have to give it up. I don't think there's a certain skill set, as long as it doesn't take you away from being close to Hashem, you have to give up.
I'm stopping this right now because of what he just said. Okay, what's your name?
Ben?
Ben? No, I mean your real name. Okay. Ben. Okay? You see how I did that? Ben! My hypothesis is that there's not one thing that you cannot take with you in your newfound avoda that will bring you closer to Hashem. And I am also further hypothesizing that if you do give up every single thing that you wanted, including career, skill, talent, practice, something you're unbelievable at and you get paid for, I am also suggesting that if you completely give up all of that, that you will not be able to find your place 100% in your avoda, in your tachlis. Now, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because if you're not focusing on ma'alas chavero, then there is no way for you to help him get to where he needs to get to. If you are a professional basketball player, okay, and I meet you, and the only vibe you get from me is you're going to have to give up everything you believe and want and get paid for in order to become Jewish and religious, but you should. It's really great. It's much better than whatever it is that you're doing now. Do you see how I'm not going to get to first base? Well, you see how there's no way? Let's just focus, okay? Here we go. Do you see how there's no way for us to talk anymore? Because what I want from you is so the exact opposite of what you do now. That's not me focusing on malas chaverim. Do you see how that worked? Do you see how, if that is your approach, do you see how if you're not, your first thing is not this person has a talent. Let's figure out how his talent can be used to motivate him, to help him progress. But rather, he's got to leave his talent behind in order to progress. Don't make him your project. Help him grow with the skills, talents, and practice, and then name what he has now. Then you're focusing on malas chavero, and you have a shot at influencing him. Go.
When do you exactly know when to break it the news to him that he can't be doing what he's doing?
You missed it.
What?
You missed it.
You never break it down?
You missed it.
Okay.
No offense, but you totally missed it. He cannot. He does not have to. You can help him, maybe, or someone great can help him channel it in the right direction. But you never have to break it to him that he has to give it up, because he doesn't. He has to take that with him and find his talent in Avodas Hashem with that talent.
I play baseball in Travis.
Newsflash, I see this your whole thing, maybe not the thing. There are 6 other days in the week. You could play baseball all week.
But nonetheless, there's a lot of things that aren't compatible with.
College football's on Shabbos.
Whoa. Compatible? And someone said before, what was it? Pleasures. Right? Entertainment. Okay?
It's not going to work.
Because this person, or you right now, are associating pleasure and entertainment with a certain thing.
Okay, good.
So he does ask, when do you break it to him? It's not about breaking it to him, it's about him learning that pleasure and entertainment and enjoyment can be found in other places. But if this person is a filmmaker and they're really good at it, and they think that they can never be a filmmaker and a film Jew, then it's going to be much harder to ever get anywhere with that. And the truth is, they're not mutually exclusive. You can make different types of films. You can play baseball 6 days a week. You can start running a camp and a baseball fantasy something. You can start writing from it. There's plenty of things that you can do that are within that thing. But if it is a total full stop, that person cannot, will not, unless there are, I'm saying that's not malas chavero. We have to focus on malas chavero. That's taking what we learned last week. That's taking the concepts that we're talking about and putting them into practice. Okay? Any more questions on this? No? Okay, good. Go.
How are you going to tell somebody that
He didn't talk yet.
There's a fine difference between playing baseball as a leisure or honing a skill that you can be really talented and get places in life. So if you can't play on Shabbos and your team plays on Shabbos, you're not making it anywhere in life.
Okay, who just asked when do you break it to him? Who is that besides you? Okay? Personally, I'm just giving you an example. Not
Literally,
okay, but let's say there was, let's say someone is an electric guitarist, okay, and lived that life, which is antithetical to the Torah, right? He had groupies, and he was in a band, and they toured, now let's say you took that person, thinking malas chavero, to a Simply Tzvah concert. Okay? Please raise your hand if you've been to a Simply Tzvah concert. A lot more people have to raise their hands for this to work. just make believe. Okay, there you go. Great. Simply Tzvah. What's your name? What? Yeah, of course. Shabtai, can you tell everyone who's simply tzaddik?
There are a group of very religious-looking people who play instruments.
Wait, up these barriers.
There are a group of people who look like Gedolei Ador.
Yes, that's actually true.
Who
Okay.
play guitar violin.
Right, sit here. Thank you. Yeah, who what?
Who play musical instruments phenomenally well.
Yes, phenomenally well. Professional level?
Yeah.
Super
Super duper.
Shabi, I love the vibe I'm feeling. The whole. Okay, so they live actually all in Spot, and they're just Google them when we're done. Okay, simply Spot. Can you understand how when you took a person like that to a concert like that, he might be thinking, "Wait, you can look like that and still do what I do at that level?" That's breaking it to him. That he does not have to live this lifestyle in order to be that good at what he is so good at. I don't know the answer of when you break it to him. There isn't a time when you tell him, do you know that all the games are on Shabbos, and if you start keeping Shabbos, you're not going to be able to play professional ball anymore. But as long as he doesn't feel that those two things are against each other, he'll continue learning. And then one day, he's going to come to a realization, not because you broke it to him, but because he learns and understands and says, I don't think I can do both the way I've been doing it until now. And then when Shabbos means enough to him, then he makes that decision to channel his art, performance, skill in a different direction. It's very different than you know, on the edge of the tongue. When do I tell him that everything he loves? It's not about that at all. It's about him coming to a realization that he doesn't want to anymore because he found something that has more pleasure for him. Okay? Now, there was a question that I got actually that I would like to address, which is very important, which goes like this. How much do I sacrifice in order to do Kiruv? In other words, what risks do I take in order to influence someone else? Right? Of course, last time we talked about Yaakov and Esav and Dinah and Leah and how does that work? What risks do I take in order to be mashpi on someone else? So I'd like to mention this Gemara, Ayin Zayin Amabeis in Sanhedrin, in Ksubis. The Gemara notes several precautions taken in regard to a contagious disease named Ra'asan. Machar is Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan, of course, Hizaharu mizvuve shel balei Ra'asan. Rabbi Yochanan says, be careful not only of people that have Ra'asan themselves, but even downwind of Ra'asan. In other words, if you have a zvuv, and a mosquito, a fly, that is in their vicinity, they can get affected, and then they bring it over to you. It sounds like, what's it called? Malaria, Nile virus, mosquito, what's it called? West Nile virus. Okay? So this is deeply rooted, makes a lot of sense in science as well, if it's a very contagious disease. Reb Zera lo hava Yosef bezike. Reb Zera didn't even sit downwind. Okay, if it's airborne, also makes sense. It's something that will be taken. Reb Eliezer lo ayil ba'ahale. Reb Eliezer wouldn't go into the same room as them. Wouldn't go in the same tent as them. As Balei Rasan. This is all very important. Rabbi Yami v'Rabbi Asi lo hava achli mibeya dahim mevoa. they wouldn't eat from eggs that were, or food that was produced in the same neighborhood as people that had Ross on it. Very contagious, very dangerous. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi michrach bahu va'asik b'Torah. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi threw caution to the wind and learned Torah with them. Michrach bahu. Can I? Is that right? Michrach bahu va'asik b'Torah. He would embrace them and learn Torah. And why? He said, Amar, ayeles ehavim v'ya'alas chen. If the Torah is mosif chen, agune lo magna, will it not protect me from any exposure that I might have to them? Now the Gemara goes on to tell a story of this Satan coming to Rabbi Shua ben Levi, the Malach HaMoves. Everyone remember this story? Yeah? That's right. Rabbi Shua ben Levi ends up taking the sword that the Malach HaMoves is weapon or tool for doing his work. He jumps over the fence into Gan Eden, and then there is no way for him to get out. And not only that, the Malach HaMoves is not only silenced, he's out of a job. Because Rabbi Shua ben Levi has his tool. And the Rebbeinu Shalom himself tells Rabbi Shua ben Levi to give it back and move on. Now, you would think the Malach HaMoves says this again, just later on. After he goes to Rabbi Shua ben Levi, so then Rabbi Chanina bar Papa was also a good friend of the Malach HaMoves. Rabbi Chanina the Malach HaMoves comes to him and he talks to him and goes, listen, I also want to see where I'm going. And he goes, okay, can you just pick me up and show me over the fence? Yeah, I fell for that once. I'm not falling for that again. And the Mefarshim explained what was the difference that Rabbi Shua ben Levi was able to win, completely overtake the Malach HaMoves, jump into Gan Eden alive, and possibly stay there according to some of the Mefarshim, and everyone else was not able to. And the Mefarshim say that that's the reason these two stories are right next to each other. As if to say, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi threw all caution to the wind. And that is why he enjoyed and had a very special place in Gan Eden that no one else had. I had a Rebbe once that gave me an unbelievable mashal. He was Rav Gifter's son-in-law, and I do believe that he heard this from Rav Gifter. And he said like this. He said, imagine a pitcher, and there are a lot of little cups around it. You fill up the pitcher, and then you start pouring from the pitcher into all the little cups. What happens to the pitcher?
It's empty.
Eventually it's empty. And if you have a lot of little cups, you don't even get to fill all of them. He said, imagine the same pitcher and all the little cups around it. But instead of taking from the pitcher and pouring, the pitcher simply keeps overflowing. What happens to the cups? They're all full. And what happens to the pitcher? It always stays full. My answer to that question is, if you are growing yourself and constantly focusing on that growth, then you do not have to fear the risk of exposure. You do have to be afraid if you're pouring, because eventually you will get empty. And then you will need to take from the little cups. If you are constantly above and giving to the little cups, and constantly rejuvenating, constantly filling yourself up, then the little cups and the people that around you will enjoy your influence, and you will not have the risk of lowering your standards. Who said I spoke about that last time? Was it you? Okay, I didn't. But thank you for bringing it up, because do you see how important it is? It's not about what you endanger yourself with. Like we take Rabbi Shimon Levi, who was a sakana, a physical sakana. We're of course talking about a spiritual danger. Yeah. What's your name?
John Sanfilel.
Nice to meet you.
Can you illustrate
We're fall
that
safe.
in more like realistic example, like what that would mean, like versus emptying yourself versus overflowing?
Yes, I can. If there's something that you feel that you are not strong enough in, then you cannot influence someone in that area. Does that help you, even though I didn't give a real world example?
I think
I'm going to say it like this. Let's say you're a recovering alcoholic. Don't go into a bar with a bunch of guys and be like, I got this. I am going to teach everybody everything I learned. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's something where you
yourself can get directed.
right. Okay? Bring them to you. Take them out of the thing. And let them share what made you who you are different. And then you don't have to worry about that exposure. Okay? Now, before I'd like to I'm going to try something and see how it works. Remember Yoshua and Kalev? So there's a very interesting pasuk at the beginning of Shlach. The pasuk tells us like this. It says, it's at the very end of Sheni, and it says that Moshe changes Hoshea's name to Yehoshua. And Rashi says that why does he do that?
Strengthen him against the spies.
What?
Strengthen him against being coerced by the spies.
That's right. He said he adds Yud and right, which becomes Hashem's name, Yud and Hey, at the very beginning of Yoshua's name. And with the tefillah of Ka, Ribono Shel Olam, Yoshiacha Me'atzas Meraglim. Now, a few questions. We'll start with this one. Apparently, Moshe saw something in Yoshua different than the other 12. Let's assume for the moment that he would see this in Kalev as well. For whatever reason it is that Yoshua and Kalev didn't fall in with the other 10, we would have to assume that Yoshua and Kalev went in with something different. Why does Moshe, and my proof is that as soon as they get to Eretz Yisrael, Kalev goes to Hebron and davens, almost as if like Yeshua's like, I'm good. I got the Moshe bracha. I don't have to go. I'm fine. Right? It sounds like that was the conversation. So why does Moshe daven for Yehoshua and seemingly leaves Kalev to his own devices, which, thank God, he was able to take care of? This is an important question? Important question. Okay. The Chavetz Chaim answers and gives us an unbelievable insight into psychology. The Chavetz Chaim says, when you are in a situation with a group of people that you do not agree with, there are two ways to deal with it. Okay? Let me hear. How do you deal with it? You're back with your friends that did not go to the school that you went to, and they want to meet on Thursday night. You don't go. Okay? What do you do?
An alternative thing to do.
An alternative thing to do. There's no alternative. You're meeting them with your principal, and you're going out to eat, and you know that the topics of conversation are not going to be ones that you want to talk about. Go.
Either you politely refuse and you risk
No, you're going.
getting expensive.
You're going.
Oh, you are.
You're going. You're there. You're in this situation. There are two different ways to deal with it. Go.
Try to change the topic.
Try to change the topic. Right? Guys, I'm really not comfortable with this. This is not who I am anymore. I'm not going to, tell you why you shouldn't be talking about it because that's on you. I'm just saying, as long as I'm here, please. Okay? Language. Okay?
Act passively.
What?
Act passively, zone out.
Zone out. Yeah. Just do something, like, you're thinking, I'm not part of that. I know what they're talking about here. That's it. These are your two options. You have another option? Those are the two options. Okay? Advantages and disadvantages. Go. Yep.
Advantages. You don't come off as abrasive.
Oh, he is such a snob. Where did he go to yeshiva? Where did he go? He went to KBY? Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Disadvantages.
So disadvantages. Number one.
They're still talking about inappropriate topics, assuming that.
Right. But disadvantages to you. So once again, advantage to you. Everyone still likes you. You're still part of the group. Next time they do something, you're still invited. Okay. Disadvantage is.
You haven't changed anything about you're still in a situation where you're not necessarily keeping a laptop.
Okay. Or let's not even take it that far. But by being passive, you risk being influenced. Right? Because you don't have the constant. Guys, let's stop this. Even though you're thinking, no, I got this. I'm good. I totally remember. I'm just thinking that. That's all I'm thinking. Okay? What's your name, please?
Jonathan Aryeh.
Touche. Okay, I got that. Okay? Go. Advantages, disadvantages. We sort of said them already, but still.
Right, so just by being passive.
No, he said the passive. You're the aggressive.
Well, your advantage is that you can possibly impact them and change their opinions.
Advantages, you're not getting affected yourself, right? Because you're always wearing it on your sleeve, exactly what you feel. Mm-hmm. And maybe even I could have a good influence on them. Okay, disadvantages?
You risk possibly having them associate people with your type of mindset in a negative.
Yeah, you're not invited next time.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just going to forget to invite you. Yeah. Okay? You see how this works? Moshe Rabbeinu understands the tchunos hanefesh of Yoshua and Kalev. Which one was Yehoshua? Where was Yoshua? And prove it.
He was at the foot of the mountain by the Ego.
Okay?
Right?
And therefore?
He didn't go and try.
I'm not part of that.
Right.
I can't be part of that. Passive?
He
Passive?
was going, he didn't stop anything. It was colors that
He wasn't even there.
He wasn't even, yeah.
Okay? Someone else. Proof. What was Yoshua? Come on, guys. Passive. Yeah, for sure. Because to be a big leader, the next leader of the whole, take them in, Teretz Yisrael, to be like a Shave Al Tyson type of guy. That was Yoshua. Lame. Go.
He was active. Because,
How do you know?
Because when they came back and they were saying what they saw, they were all painting it in a negative light. And he was saying, no, really, it's like this. Really, it's a good thing.
The Chizul Bilvad, Asalanu ben Amram. What's that? Vayahas Kalev. Why was Kalev able to speak up? Why did they listen to Kalev? Why wasn't Yoshua able to speak up? Because for the last 40 days, Yoshua, every opportunity, every new neighborhood, every turn, was saying, guys, I don't think we should be talking about that. I don't think we should be doing this. I don't think we should be thinking this. Ad infinitum. Ad nauseam. Leave us alone. Seriously. Go back to Shalabim. We do not need this. Yehoshua was the next leader. He was the Takif. He was the Talmud of Moshe Rabbeinu. What's Moshe's MO? Butting in. He sees two people fighting, a Mitzri and a Yid, he gets involved. He sees two Yidden fighting, he gets involved. Moshe's not passive. Yehoshua's his greatest Talmud. Is he passive? Yehoshua is the embodiment of Moshe's teachings. That means get involved, care, say what you feel. Make sure you're always looking at giving opportunities to people to change. Kalev, on the other hand, knows what he's supposed to be doing. But he's able to, I got this. I know the right thing, but I'm going to wait for my opportunity. At disadvantages for Yehoshua as he sets out. Are his disadvantages, are his dangers physical or spiritual? Physical. There are a lot of cliffs down south. They come up in the Negev, you know, and it's like Yehoshua, that's how easy it is, right? You've been on those hikes where you don't understand how they're taking you there. Right? Seriously, what are they thinking? Right? Any one of those, Yehoshua is sort of, oh! Yehoshua is in mortal, physical danger. Moshe thinks to himself, that's something I could daven for. The Rebbeinu Shalom should save you from this real physical danger that you might be in. Kalev, on the other hand, is in spiritual danger. Can you daven for someone else? What is it? Hakol b'dei shamayim chutz miyira shamayim. I can't daven for his yira shamayim. He can daven for his own yira shamayim. He can do things for his own, to further his own yira shamayim, so that he's always a giver, so that his pitch is always overflowing. He needs spiritual empowerment. He's got to draw that from somewhere. He connects to the source. He goes to Hebron. He goes to Marsa Machpelah to fill up. Because he's passive. And he's afraid of being effective. So he's constantly looking for ways to fill up. Moshe says, that's not something I can take care of. That's something he can take care of. And he does. And that's why at the end, Vayahas Kalev, as Kalev is able to influence them, because up until now, he hasn't said a word, where Yehoshua is not someone they're listening to. We're breaking up, quickly. Okay? 2 teams. Everybody on this side is Yehoshua. Everybody on this side is Kalev. Turn your chairs around. Turn your chairs around. We got 2 minutes. Turn your chairs around. I need 2 people from each team that are going to come up here and tell me which way is better. Which way is right and which way is better. Hurry up. Go, go. You talk to these people. You talk to these people. One minute.
Bottom corner, guys. All 1 minute.
Someone in this team. Ben, you coming up? What? Okay, let's go. Okay, go for it. What's your name?
Moshe.
No.
Yoshua.
No. Yes. There you go. Okay.
Yeah, all right. So being aggressive is much better and more effective. If you just be quiet and listen to what they're saying, shtika kyoda, you're essentially agreeing with them, and therefore they're not going to change their ways. You have to be aggressive and tell them that what they're doing is wrong. Otherwise, they're just going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Krovim. I'll say, my issues I have with your points, then I'll try and present my own argument. The first thing I'd like to say is firstly, shtika kyoda, albeit that's true on a... Sorry?
Yeah.
Albeit that's true on a halachic, plane, we're not dealing within that kind of realm. We're dealing with what's the most effective way of getting, messages of what we want across to these people. And I think that as soon as you attack someone, their defenses go up. As soon as especially if they're mushka in a certain environment, if you're sitting with them and they're discussing inappropriate topics, you don't want to attack them at that point. Whilst they're in the middle of it, they're going to feel defensive and they're going to feel that you're attacking them, which is problematic on two fronts. The first being that they're not going to be receptive, and the second being that they'll associate negative, sentiment towards you and people who are religious like you.
So you're suggesting you should sit by and do nothing?
Sit by, and I think you should wait for the opportune moment. Specifically, when you don't have a group mentality, if you're sitting around, there's a chevra of 5 guys and you, it's going to be very difficult when they have the support from their friends around them to argue against them. If you speak to them on an individual level, it's much more possible to, have a real communication between two parties.
So what you're essentially saying is that you have to...
No. Okay, who's right? Sit down.
I can't rebuff.
Nope, we don't rebuff. Who's right?
He was very aggressive.
Stand up. No. Stand up.
Both wrong burgers.
Why are they both right?
Different situations. One time can call to be voice of reason, but you should also be attacking that person. Make sure he doesn't get those incremental steps pushing you in the wrong direction. So both.
Yehoshua's job is the next manhig melech of Klal Yisrael. A melech does not have the luxury of being passive. He simply cannot afford to be passive. Because if he's passive, if he's not setting the tone, if he's not leading the pack, then they're leading him. Kalev's root, so important, so true, so correct for almost everybody else that's not a melech. So it's not, the Chafetz Chaim says, about being right. It's about being smart. It's about understanding that each one of these approaches has their own advantages and disadvantages. And you need to adapt to the situation and chevra and place and area and audience that you're in order to optimize. And who said opportune? Ben? And use and make sure and wait for the opportune moment to either use your skill as a Yehoshua or as a Kalev in order to influence the people around you in the best possible way. Now, we're done? Is that good? 2 more minutes? A few more minutes? I don't really have anything else to say. Kiruv is always Kiruv Levavos is a prerequisite to any other Kiruv that you will ever do. It is a prerequisite in the way that you cannot get started without Kiruv Levavos, and it starts from you. Tein b'libenu shenira malas chaveru v'lo chesrona. Good talk. Thank you.
Okay.